Now I'm ready. Whenever you want. Perfect. Thank you.
Caught me drinking. Yeah. Good to see you.
Yeah, Jason was asking. If that ain't working.
Yeah, it is. It worked perfect this time.
Maybe we want to be the agenda.
It's in here somewhere.
This is,
Yeah.
the cameraman's.
I forgot. to
Okay.
say
Yeah,
this.
yes.
This is all everything.
Goodness. I think it's showtime.
It is 12 o'clock, December the 4th, 2023. I make a motion that the emergency meeting of the Navarro County Commissioners Court come to order.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Perry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we are convened at this point, and that was number one. And number two is going to be consideration of approving the contract for volunteer fire department of Navarro County for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. The Navarro County Commissioners Court is calling this meeting. I'm reading this to you because it's required. It's calling this meeting for 12 noon on December 4th, 2023, based on section 551.045 of the Texas Government Code. The volunteer fire departments which service much of rural Navarro County have been without enforceable contracts since October 1 of 2023. Without these contracts, the county has not been able to provide financial support to the volunteer fire departments. The volunteer fire departments have indicated that without the ability to pay for fuel and other necessities, they may not be able to respond when called upon. An emergency under section 551.045 exists in that these volunteer fire departments need immediate financial assistance in order to be able to respond to emergencies. At the meeting, the Commissioners Court will consider extending the contracts between these volunteer fire departments and the county until March of 31 of 2024 to allow the county
Don't have a hoedown?
do something.
Sorry.
I'm gonna back up. At the meeting, the Commissioners Court will consider extending the contracts between these volunteer fire departments and the county until March 31 of 2024 to allow the county and the volunteer fire departments to negotiate and enter into mutually agreeable contracts that will in turn enable the volunteer fire departments to respond to emergencies as they arise. We just need, is there going to be any discussion on this?
But I just want to say that, there was, on social media and stuff, there was, legitimate issues out there floating around. There was also some misinformation out there floating around. So, I went and visited with the volunteer fire departments in precinct, 1 to make sure there wasn't any misunderstanding. And they all were, wanted a resolution. They were all great to work with, had good ideas and input. So I just wanted to bring that forward today. And their suggestion was that we they felt comfortable extending the old contract for 6 months, which would put us into March of this next year, extending that contract for 6 months and then have a committee formed of various members to hammer out a contract to be approved at another date. And that would get the money flowing that they need and the back pay they need. They would be required to turn in the paperwork that they always have to turn in to get that funding. But that was the general consensus from the departments I talked to.
I had the same experience with the departments in precinct 4. I've met with them on 2 occasions this past week, and that was our consensus as well, same thing.
And then, and this contract, are there any representatives here from Volunteer Fire Department Association. Here's some contracts, if y'all wanna look at them. And this is the one, I believe, that we've been using for like the last 10 years. Before we go any further, take a look at it, make sure it's the one, it's stamped up on the top, it's the same one that was approved last year.
Okay, 3 people signed up to, actually it was 4 people, but one marked their name out to speak regarding all of this. John, you want to do that first? Mr. Robinson?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've been with the County Firefighter Association and Retreat Fire Department for the last 42 years. At no time has this county association been in a situation like this. We've always been able to work things out. And hopefully things will get worked out today. I would like to read Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code, section 78.101 definition. Emergency response means a response involving fire protection or prevention, rescue, emergency medical, or hazardous material response services. Volunteer Fire Department means a nonprofit organization that is operated by its members, exempt from the state sales tax under section 151-310, religious education and the public service organization tax code, organized to provide an emergency response. Now, Sheriff Tanner is concerned about liability. We're all concerned about liability. This last contract that was given to us still says fire service or fire response. Why doesn't it say section 2, the payment, rural fire call? Why doesn't it say include medical emergency? That's what we're here for. If the new contract still doesn't say medical emergency calls, why would we want to approve it? That's what we're here for. We provide these services to our residents of our areas. I agree, if we extend this contract from March the 31st and include the back pay that we deserve, it was in the county budget approved for those back to October 1st. Maybe some of these departments can continue to operate. Fortunately, Retreat Fire Department is helped in the city of Retreat. We will continue to operate within the city of Retreat. Unless this is extended we're not gonna operate outside the city limits. I ask you carefully consider this to include emergency medical services. Not every department has EMTs or paramedics. But they're first aid trained, CPR trained. They can get out there and help the ambulance attendants, help load a patient, or find that address, help get them there. That's what we do. That's what us volunteers do. Take that into consideration, and I thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, John.
I can't quite read the next person.
Bruce?
Yeah, that's,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
so that's, no, that's, all right. That's scribbling, you know. Okay, and first of all, thank you, Your Honor, and all the rest of the commissioners. I appreciate you letting me give me a couple minutes here to say something. My biggest thing from the very beginning has not been anything but being able to respond to medical calls, because that's part of our issue. No department out here responds to go do a brain operation. Okay, all we go do is either stop the bleed, we have to start CPR or use an AED. But majority of everything we do is just package them up for the EMTs to get there and send them on their way. Okay, and what needs to happen first, and I'm just gonna state this, what needs to happen even, and I appreciate y'all gonna extend the contract, but what needs to happen is the directive that was given to the sheriff's office of only fire, and then having someone who's at the residence say, I want the fire department to show up. Well, that needs to be rescinded, because in an emergency, when you have your dad or somebody that's on the ground having a heart attack, you're not concerned with, I need to call, let's say, I need to call the fire department, I need to call these people. No, you just want somebody to get out there and help them as fast as they can get. You're not concerned with anything else, and they're not gonna be, they're not even aware this is happening. And so if you're saying, if you have to ask them that, and they're just gonna say, hey, I just need somebody to get out here. All that needs to leave, because that's a 30-minute trip where I'm at for an ambulance to get there. And I state this because I've had one person come to my office that their parent laid on the ground and died because the ambulance took 30 minutes to get there and I'm 2 minutes away. And their first words is, why didn't you show up? And believe me, other than being hurt and then mad about the whole thing, that right there just completely, you don't know what to say to them. You're just, oh, I'm sorry. There's nothing I can say about it. I can't say that, there's no, even if you're in the hospital, hooked up to machines and have a heart attack, there's not 100% guarantee you're going to overcome a heart attack. But you get an extra chance if someone is right there to give you, administer, some kind of CPR or AED on you. At least you have that good for you, and wait for the ambulance to get there to get you really, boxed up and gone, or have the PHI come and pick you up. But I just ask you, if you're going to consider this, consider rescinding that order from the sheriff's office. And then if you have to have one for the immediate right now until we get through the March, then just state for fire and EMS calls. And of course, whatever else everybody does, like I have the boats issue, I have all the lakes, so we have to do boats and stuff like that. But, at least have that be able to, have all of us be able to go back the way we always have been, because our community relies on us. They depend on us to get out there as quickly as we can, so that's what I wanted to bring up, and I appreciate your time, and I ask you to consider what I've asked.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bruce.
Julie?
I want to say thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank you.
I agree with everything Mr. Speaker had to say.
And on the old contract, I have two issues. You will look at the section B, where it says the department shall identify, hold harmless, and defend the county at all times after the effective date of this agreement against any liability, loss, damage, including punitive damages, claim settlement, payment cost or expense, interest, award, judgment, fine, fee, penalty, or other matter arising in any way out of the operation of the department or anything set forth in this agreement, it being the intent that the county shall have no liability whatsoever for the acts or omissions of the department or its employees or agents. Also under number 5 on H. It says the department are not agents of the county for any purpose, and individuals who are members or volunteer members of the department shall not be deemed employees for any purpose at any time. Okay. The beginning, we're quoting 352 is where you get your authority. If you go to local government code 352, I'm gonna read that to you because y'all don't have a copy of it in front of you, but 352.004, agency liability. A, in this section, furnishing fire protection includes traveling to or from a fire. B, the act of a person who in carrying out in county's authority to provide fire protection, furnishes fire protection to a county resident who lives outside the municipalities in the county, including the act of a person who is a regular employee or firefighter of a municipality, is considered to be the act of an agent of the county. So y'all are saying totally opposite in your contract. C, a municipality is not liable for the act of its employee in fighting fires outside the municipality under a contract between the Commissioners Court and the county and the governing body of a municipality. Could y'all strike that out of there because it's in total conflict with the government code. And that's really all we needed to say. Thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Julie.
Good, Dan, boy. I'm
Yes,
getting old, my memory's short.
Yes, sir.
I know in one other thing,
yes, sir.
one thing that I forgot in that civil while ago, it included hazardous material. The sheriff has given a directive to his dispatcher not to dispatch volunteer fire department hazardous material incident also. That's another one of his directives.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Gentlemen, any other discussion?
So I'm asking, I want to be sure we got this right. For the most part, everyone's okay with us to renew this for 6 months for now, pending the final contract in order to get the money flowing. Is that correct?
No,
No.
absolutely not. I cannot sign it if you do not remove those two items in it. Because I cannot take over the city's liability
What's
for the county. Cannot do that,
the city of,
Angus.
but this doesn't include the city of Angus, does it?
I didn't
Our
think
fire
so.
department is owned by the city,
Oh, I see.
so
So would that require
A separate
a separate contract?
Yeah.
Because not all of them are owned by a city, is that correct?
I think Blooming Grove may be, I'm not real sure.
Yeah,
I know that
we won't be able to hold harmless and defend y'all in all actions and all liabilities either. I mean, that's not something that we're prepared to do. Our insurance, VFIS, is for us, and it says it does not insure any third parties, so that wouldn't include y'all.
and none of the departments, it's not just cities, it's the government code, you're not supposed to have that in there.
If we had mutual indemnity where we each hold each other harmless, but you're asking us to defend you in all actions, our fault, your fault, and everybody else's fault, that shouldn't be our responsibility. If we go out to a call, as it says, and even an agent of the county or somebody who works for the county causes an issue, then You're saying that we're your legal representation. We would have to defend you in court, whether we had anything to do with it or not. And that's not fair. It's not just.
So the city of Angus and the city of Blooming Grove are different in this way.
I don't know that
I
any
don't know what-
volunteer department around here would want to defend y'all for your own actions.
City of Frost still oversees the Frost Volunteer Fire Department also. They will have to 4 years.
Can you add retreat on there?
Bear Mills was at our meeting the other day and they agreed to the same. They're not in a position to defend the county.
Well, they're not supposed to. I mean, it's clearly spelled it out in the government. code. I'll leave y'all this copy.
The city of Frost would have to have lawyers and get it.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay, but at this point, we're talking about extending that pre-existing contract for everybody, just to get things back to where they were. And money to coming to you. This is not talking about the new contract yet, okay, but to buy time to talk about the new contract, make adjustments or do whatever we need to do. So is everybody comfortable with going back to the old contract?
Not with that language in there, no.
No, I'm talking about the old contract.
Correct.
it's in there, so that it was the old contract.
You already signed the old contract.
So the reason why the old contract existed, because I think you're probably asking why we would have agreed to it before, but not now. Is that correct, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Well, the reason why that before is because y'all have never allowed us to be in these agreements or negotiations with the contract before. Y'all have always issued it. We could sign it, take it or leave it. And now you feel like you're in a bind where you actually have to bring us to the table and negotiate with us. So we would like to get the things equally and fair. You've never invited us to a negotiation. You've never asked for our input. It was always given to us right at the date and time which it goes into effect, and departments couldn't not sign it because they couldn't withhold the funding.
So in that,
Y'all have enacted the withholding the funding, so we're already there now.
That's correct.
it's the language of holding harmless, correct? I mean, that's normally in contracts, in lots of contracts.
Well, it is, but it's mutual in a lot of contracts. This is completely one-sided for your benefit.
One thing of it is you have to go by 352, because that is where you get your authority, and it
Yep.
specifically says
Yep.
that's wrong.
Okay.
So,
All right,
yeah, you could just strike it. I mean, you can't extend the old contract anyway, because it is already expired. So no matter what, this is a new contract. So just strike those two things, and then we could go on with the contract and put in what Mr. Speak had said about doing the first responder thing, and everybody's happy until we get the other negotiated.
The old contract expired October 1st.
right.
It would have to have been extended then.
Yes.
I don't think it's believed to be extended right now.
Well, I don't know that we can't reinstate that contract. I think legally we can. But if we're needing to strike certain language out of it, then, we
Yeah,
can look
sure.
into doing that.
I mean, and I can only speak for the departments I've talked to, because I haven't talked to everybody. Their concern was to get the money flowing, and that's my concern as well. If we're going to have a committee that's gonna put a final contract together that everybody can agree on, to get the money going as quickly as possible, then we use this contract, striking those two parts to get things going, and then have the committee, of course, it needs to be, jumped on as quickly as possible to get a resolution. But, to keep from having a wasted meeting here, and to get them the money they need, can we strike the two items for the time being until it sounds like they've got lawyers to talk to and so do we. But I'm just trying to keep, yes,
The
sir.
County Firefighter Association has a committee in place. They have a liaison from all four departments of the county. We've had this, liaison committee. I think they have met with y'all once or twice, or requested to. They speak for the entire county association. We've already got the committee.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're the ones to work with you.
Yeah, could you, if we could, if you could furnish us with those names, that'd be great.
Yep.
I'm just trying to expedite this as quickly as possible.
We'll get you the names.
Okay.
Yeah.
The problem I see with that is though, that there were cities that are not represented on that committee. And the city is gonna tell me what I can and can't do.
Sure.
That committee can't speak for the city of Frost.
And those may require a separate contract from the rest.
Would there be a problem with adding some representatives from the city to that committee?
Vice President's here, he can say,
I don't know if adding anybody from the cities, if that's even a possibility. I mean, we're a volunteer firefighter association. If they want I guess if they're wanting to enter into a separate contract, then that's gonna be between them, their city and the commissioners board. I do believe, I mean, that sounds like that's the way this is going.
Yeah, basically, if you were going to sit down and negotiate, you would have their representatives and then you would invite the cities to
Right.
that same negotiation.
We just want a contract that everybody wants.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
And
want
that's
y'all to
what,
have, we want y'all to have what y'all need, and we want you to have it as quickly as possible, and we want to resolve this issue as quickly as possible.
yes, and I don't see any problem with what you were saying about striking through that.
Yeah, if we
and
strike them-
Just using the old contract for now until we can get everything worked out on the new.
That's my
To make-
suggestion.
Simple.
To make sure we're clear on that, we're talking about striking 5B and 5H.
Yes,
Just David.
Yes,
adding the first responder.
I'm sorry.
You negotiate with the
And
city of
first
Forest
responder.
County, that's correct. And a separate contract with them.
Yeah.
Everything.
They're their own entity.
And in that, you're speaking of rescinding the order to the sheriff's office and putting it back to just being fire and EMS office.
Y'all, we can do that. Y'all want to go with that?
Yes.
That way, a lot of this stuff is, we put it all on the table into the bed.
That's kind of how this started.
Yeah.
Yes.
and it's good, it's good back pay.
Retroactive
Yeah.
payments.
I would,
Yeah, retroactive payments.
But I have to have documentation before I can even submit any payments out to anybody, and I have no documentation, so I cannot at least fund.
I think everybody's got it right.
They haven't asked for documentation, reason why you haven't got it.
October 1, when the other contract expired,
Yeah.
a new contract would have been done, but usually when you do sign a new contract, you have all the other documentation to go along with.
Correct.
That's all I'm asking.
that's when you
And sign the that's why- contract and
give it to you.
That's correct.
It should have been ready to submit.
Till-
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
we do, it's just
Everybody's ready.
when we're having issues, we don't wanna just go start giving paperwork that might get lost in the process before.
Sure don't.
But
So that's the first step
it's different.
Oh, yeah, well.
along with this.
Not the roster.
We,
Without this,
that's not an issue. I mean, the thing is, I don't know if we're gonna extend the contract, if we can use,
I'm talking
we're
about
gonna
just what-
extend what we've already had in the past already, because that's still, that should be still good with that extended contract.
Right.
So the new contract would require the new paperwork.
Okay, anything else?
Does she have the floor? Cause she's making statements that y'all are, I don't believe, here. This lady here.
I didn't hear.
What were you saying?
All I did
Oh,
was
he's doing it.
answer
Terry?
y'all saying that payments
Yeah.
would be. I cannot release payments without documentation.
Or you have the documentation from the last, and then they're extending the old contract, which the old paperwork is still good.
But it expired as of 9:30 until I get
Well-
written documentation.
well,
from
watch
you
that.
and y'all sign.
Everybody just needs to submit their documentation.
I mean, it's,
That'd be done
it
anyway.
doesn't matter how we got here, we're here, and we need to fix it now.
Yes, we're
Um,
working good.
We
Move
need,
forward.
you know, we need to all do our part and fix it now and until we can at least get the money flowing and buy enough time to hammer out a new contract that everybody can agree with.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what I would like to see, John. I'm assuming that's what we're going to
Okay,
do.
but I just want to make sure here, if we're gonna submit this paperwork here for the extended contract, that's still going to cover the next contract.
It should be good for 12
I don't
months.
want to have to do it for another, then in a
Any
month.
other the only thing that's gonna expire January 1 is your workers' comp. That I have to have a new copy of.
So that's all you're gonna require for us right now?
No, right now I need your roster, your liability insurance on your vehicles, your balance statement, or financial statements, and a copy of the current workers' comp, just like I do every year come October 1.
I
And then
I just want to make sure that
But I
everybody's on the
also
same
need-
page.
I also need whatever was decided on in court today and approved, I'll need a copy of that amendment signed so that we can move forward for the extension by the
I
volunteer.
think it's
fire.
okay, I just didn't understand why we didn't turn it in, but that's fine.
I don't know.
All right, we need a motion to move forward on this, gentlemen. So when we get your paperwork and the contractor signed, the checks will move. So it depends on y'all. If we pass this contract today, please, I cannot emphasize enough to get that paperwork. If you need to leave right from here and go get it and bring it back, the faster it happens, the faster this thing gets moved. And I'm interested in speed on getting the money flowing, so that y'all can continue to operate.
And then we can put the committee together of the 4 members that, Mr. Robinson spoke of. And probably add another few people, I don't know, figure that out and hammer out a contract that everybody's comfortable with.
Everybody in agreement with that? Okay. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
And I do appreciate
Like
y'all.
I said, just as long as that
Please.
includes the rescinding that order, that's the big thing. That's.
And I appreciate all y'all coming and putting your
Yes.
input in because
It's very important.
that's how we learn all these things, is from input from other people, you know. We're just simple human beings up here. We don't know everything either, so it helps. But I learned a lot this weekend just by talking to some of my fire departments that I see all the time.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
visited them in a way that was a little different than I had before, and I learned a lot. So I appreciate all y'all coming.
And I hope y'all understand that we cannot just meet in here in a room and decide these things. It has to be a legal court setting to keep us in violation of the law. So we have laws to follow. And y'all can just decide things on a whim where we have to. There's legislative things that we have to follow. And so that's what's taken so stinking long. Because it just irks me how long it takes county government to make a decision. But it's because of these things that come from Austin to us. So
You think that March 1st would be a good time? Would that be enough time to get everything hashed out? Sorry, Terry and I.
it shouldn't be that difficult.
Should be okay by March.
That, with the, contract expiring in October, then we have 6 months from then, so I think that puts us in. But I mean, if it can be done sooner, that's good too.
Yeah, if it's done sooner, it's sooner. So,
Five A will need to be reworded, because it says that this will expire 1 year from the effective date. If y'all are going to come out a 6-month extension, we need to change that language.
The amendment so that we can use this will state that, I believe.
all right, we need a motion to.
You write all that down, Coach?
I got most of it, yeah, I can do that. I'll make a motion that we extend the current 2023 contract for our volunteer fire departments to extend until March the 1st or earlier this year, with the removal of 5B and 5H from that contract. And that we put back, we put a statement in the contract saying that medical emergencies will be dispatched as well as fire. Does that make sense? Is that right?
And
Is that what y'all were talking, is that what y'all were talking about?
You're actually seeing that letter that y'all sent to the sheriff's department for dispatch. It's gonna have to be rescinded from what I.
Well, it
understand.
expired. It expired
I'm
September
just
1st.
gonna say the sheriff told me personally, he says that we can have 13 contracts, but that order still stands.
Okay.
Until somebody rescinds it, they have to abide by that particular one. He says, once that's out of his hair, and it just says that he has the authority to fight for fire and EMS calls, he will go back to dispatching as normal.
I thought that's what I was saying in the motion, that we're gonna rescind previous orders for just fire calls, and it will include both fire and emergency calls, medical emergency
In the
calls.
contract.
and we probably ought to include voiding the contract we approved Monday.
Yes. Well, do we need to do that first? Okay. We voted in a contract last Monday. And that became part of it. So do we need to void that first before extending this one?
We're implementing this one.
I think so.
Okay, well, let's start over then. I'll make a motion that we void the contract that we entered into last Monday for the volunteer fire departments.
And replace it.
So
Yeah. Okay.
Motion made by Commissioner Brewer, seconded by Commissioner Grant. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Now, make the motion that we extend the 2023 contract for the volunteer fire departments with the exclusion of 5B and 5H, and that we rescind the dispatch order not to send volunteer fire departments for medical calls or medical emergencies. However, that needs to be worded. Correct me.
First responder.
Okay, first responders.
Need
Like I
a-
say, the sheriff has also told the dispatchers not to dispatch us on hazardous material. Call County only. Well, where he came up with that, that came about the last 2 weeks. We may not be trained on hazardous material spills, but there's lots of situations where we help with evacuation. And they don't want us out there. Another burr under his saddle. No, he's an electrical system.
I had, as part of our training, we train for hazardous materials and we're not. For the majority, I don't think anybody in these fire departments are trained at a higher level of hazardous materials response. But we know enough to initially respond and to assess what's going on and then up the chain from there and get the proper response from that. So,
That includes a diesel spill on the interstate.
So it's more of the same, we're first responders and that's one of the duties. And it's up to each individual department to train their people on those do's and don'ts, what you do when you go on things like that.
So to include hazmat into the fire, EMC, medical, EMT
And hazardous.
And hazmat.
Something like that.
I mean, and you're gonna add that, just add the boat calls, but that way she doesn't have, I know, and I think
I got
you
you.
just need to.
Yeah.
Because somehow or another, they got to where, well, we just have to call the game warden, and the game warden has to step. So it's like,
Yeah.
all that needs to just go back the way it used to be, and dispatches, when when a call comes in, and
I think if you just
change it to emergency response, it would work, which you got the paper right there in
Yeah.
front of you now.
It would cover everything.
Yeah, and that would cover everything.
First responder.
Yeah, it says in there, yeah. Let's
Just change it to emergency response.
Let's change that to, be dispatched, as an emergency response.
Fires and emergency response.
Fires and emergency response.
Keep it simple.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
You have to say that again, but it's we're all over the place.
I'm glad she hit on that.
Well, my thing's down.
Okay, let me I'll try to restate. I make a motion that we extend the 2023 volunteer fire department contract until March, what was that date? March the 30th? March 31st, 2024, with the exclusion of 5B and 5H out of that, and to include dispatched for fires and emergency response.
You've already seconded, right?
I've already seconded,
Okay,
but letting her get it written down.
still working on it? Okay. Tell us when you're ready.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right. Motion's been made by Commissioner Brewer, seconded by Commissioner Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
We
All
got,
right.
yeah, this means yes, this means no.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Yay.
I was giving you.
Oh.
Sure, that's a song.
Well, that's what I was. So not be a thumb.
So we're all on the same page.
We're all on the same page.
Okay. So get your paperwork turned in. We got the contracts ready as soon as a printer can print them. One more. Good.
That's the old.
All right.
It's gonna have a.
I just want to.
We're ready? Finding out, I'm finding out, because I'm not gonna get up until this is done.
Oh, okay.
Is it done?
Okay.
Yes.
Just as long as we can, because now we'll feel like we have are able to negotiate with you on the new contract.
We're here.
Okay, and that we are invited to be able,
You don't
especially
have
as
to be
on the
invited.
liaison committee, we need to be, if we have some, when we get the new ones back. Or the
We will
revamped
let you
ones,
know.
will let us know, and then we can come and have some FaceTime and, we can go. over
After they meet and put the contract together, everybody will be included. And it's an open meeting, so you're free to come every time we
Yeah.
meet, and I highly encourage it.
Okay.
I used to do it before I was here. I would come out there to see how this worked. And it's amazing how it works from this side and not that side.
I'm sure.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Perry to adjourn. All in favor, say bye.
Adios.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate Oh, yeah. Hated to have to have, but that was been the door and that's being everybody's fault. And I can't have. You are being- I gotta think, people don't, they just need to,